Game number 49 for the Boston Celtics on the second leg of an LA back-to-back as they take on Blake Griffin and the Los Angeles Clippers. Josue Pavone here for CLNS Media. I'm joined by Coach Nick of Basketball Breakdown to preview this matchup. Nick, thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Glad to be here.
So the injuries have stacked up so high for the Clippers that Doc Rivers can't even keep count anymore. I mean, DeAndre Jordan is questionable for tonight, but Austin Rivers, Gallinari, Juan Evans, all out. Not to mention Patrick Beverley, who's been ruled out for the season, which happened earlier in the year. Still, the Clippers currently find themselves fighting for a playoff spot with a .500 record of 23-23, and a big reason has to be because of Lou Williams. The 12-year veteran has become one of the most impressive scorers of the season in the midst of his best season of his career. However, he's on an expiring deal, and the trade deadline is quickly approaching. If you're the Clippers, do you sell him and try to collect assets, or is this somebody that you want to re-up next summer and make part of your future?
You know, it's a really great question, and it really kind of depends on what the Clippers want to do, because they're kind of stuck in this purgatory where they can be a 7th seed or a 6th seed the way they are. They can't get a high draft pick, and they can't seem to move up. But I will say that Lou has been a revelation, although it's everything we've always seen him do his entire career, just on more and more better and efficiently and more exciting. So there is the notion of needing to put fans in the seats, and you don't want to lose a potential guy that can do that, and people are excited about. So I think that they're going to have to kind of play this out and see what they want to do. As I don't think they're going to trade him, obviously, before the trade deadline. It doesn't feel that way. I think they're going to have to wait and see how they do, and if they get in the playoffs, and if they can make it run, if there is anything there. If it's a quick 4-0 out in the first round, then it's a very possibility they'll just say, yeah, let's move on and go young and rebuild.
How do you feel about these recent reports, including DeAndre Jordan? Is that something, is there something that can materialize out of those talks, or is he going to be staying put, at least for the foreseeable future?
Another good question. I mean, we're talking about what the Cavaliers possibly. Is that the trades we're hearing these days?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, they could use some sort of defender right now in Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear to me that Cleveland is going to do their best they can to possibly get a trade. They don't really have assets that I don't think people want, and so that's the problem. Is I'm trying to figure out how that trade would go down. It'd be like Tristan Thompson, and they'll throw somebody else in there. But that doesn't really work for me. Now, if they want to throw Kevin Love in there. But I don't know if the Cavaliers would ever be willing to do a trade like that. And I don't even know if it helps the Cavaliers, honestly. So, anyway, so the only way that would work to me would be like, they'd have to get an all-star back or something really good or a pick or something, I think, for a guy who is, one of the better centers in the league and one of the more athletic centers in the league, can do a lot of things. So I don't know. I feel to me like DeAndre Jordan will probably end up being a Clipper after the trade deadline.
This edition of the Celtics pregame report is brought to you by DraftKings.com. Head over to DraftKings.com and use the promo code CLNS for a free sign-up with your first deposit and a shot at a share of $10,000 in total prizes. That's DraftKings.com. Use the promo code CLNS and get yourself paid. We've seen a lot of inconsistencies out of the Celtics offense throughout the past couple of weeks. Quarters where they cannot seem to find a shot or execute efficiently, I should say, which has led to large deficits for them to crawl out of. What do you think is the biggest reason for that?
Well, I got to check the numbers. I know at some point, somewhat recently, rebounding became an issue again for them. I got to look at that again, but that obviously is a problem on the offensive boards when they get, they give those up and get second chance opportunities. Because usually those are threes or just easy putbacks, and that's what gets, the team down in a hurry. So that has always been an issue for them, and they have to be concerned with that. But other than that, this game has changed, and the way the three-pointer is being used, we just see as a matter of commonplace now, this wild runs, and teams lose big leads and they gain big leads, and I just feel like it's less of an issue and more just like the nature of how the NBA is played.
So, Nick, from an X's and O's standpoint, is there anything about Stevenson's offensive plan of attack that you think may be holding him back from getting the most out of his guys? I mean, throughout the slump, you did see something that, is there something that may be holding these guys back? I don't know, maybe somebody's not getting enough touches. Are there lineup rotations that you think that Stevens could, do a better job at? Or is this the absolute best that we're seeing out of this group?
I mean, Brad Stevens perennially has been the guy that gets everything out of his team, and if they're not quite getting it now, it's simply just the doldrums of the year, and as everyone's getting beat up in the middle of January and dealing with all of that. Plus, they're relying on guys like Jason Tatum, who's a rookie, and they're also relying on Jaylen Brown, who's probably banged up even now. I believe he's back and playing, right?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, Yeah, and so, but he's probably made up too. So it's like you're going to have sort of wild swings, and you have that kind of young, talent playing for you. You know, Marcus Smart is a good example of a guy who's always sort of up and down, right? He just never seems to be very consistent, and they're relying on him, greatly for his production. And he's not doing great, but he's obviously you love to have him on your team, but he's definitely one of those guys who's inconsistent at best. So I think that's the nature of the team as it is. And, they're probably going to have to just ride that wave out and hope they can get on a better streak as it gets to the end of the season into the playoffs. But I do feel like there are some limitations that are going to only be solved with perhaps, Gordon Hayward getting back on the court.
What are your thoughts on the starters for the All-Star game? Do you think the voters got it right? And what's your take on the whole new format with the captains picking teams?
I actually like that. I'm not even a big fan of the All-Star game as it is. I really need to watch it now because it's not a game, and they don't really do anything to play what resembles a game, and it's frustrating to watch. So I don't usually watch much of it at all. But I do think it's fascinating to see how, who picks who. In fact, that was a question I kind of had to always fantasize about asking NBA players when I'm covering teams is, okay, you're at the company picnic on July 4th, and everyone's there, and you're going to have a pickup game. Who do you pick first? I've always wanted to know that answer and do that across the board. So I guess we'll find out a little bit about that and see, and that'll be, so it's interesting to me, but I don't think it changes the dynamic of the game being just sort of a throwing the ball out there and running around a little bit and breaking a little bit of a sweat. So, but that said, I thought the picks were fine, at least for the starters. Those all represent everything I would choose, I think, for this year, for sure.
I just like the storyline behind Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. I mean, I find it, I'm going to be very surprised if he ends up on the same team as LeBron. So maybe that in itself is going to get the other side jacked up and ready to beat LeBron and his squad, whether it's, Kyrie Irving plus, I don't know, Giannis or Anthony Davis. I love the whole fact, I love the dynamic of them combining East and West. I think it's going to be just because of the storylines heading into the regular season. Maybe it's going to add a little more spice to it. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, that is very interesting, especially because you're right. The thing that's going on in Cleveland is certainly something worth watching. More interesting too.
All right, prediction time. Nick, let's get you out on this. Who wins tonight, Celtics or Clippers?
Oh, that's a good question. I usually like to go with the home team, especially in the situation. But see, the Celtics are on the road trip. All right, how many games are they on this road trip? 4.
So this would be the second of the 4 games. Golden State Saturday, and then Monday Denver.
Right. So, I don't know. The Clippers have lost 2 in a row, as far as if I'm remembering correctly. And so they're not, they're kind of coming off of a they're not hot at all, and they're not playing that well. So I would probably end up going with, although I guess you could argue the Celtics are also having the same issues. So someone's got to win this game tonight. I think I'm going to go with, I'll go with the Celtics. Let's see if they're going to end I think they're going to get right before the Clippers do.
All right, sounds good. All right, he is Coach Nick of Basketball Breakdown. Give him a follow on Twitter at @bballbreakdown. He's got you covered for the entire landscape of the NBA, not just solely the Celtics. So you definitely want to give him a follow for all you NBA fans tuning in. That is at @bballbreakdown on Twitter, and he is Coach Nick. Nick, I appreciate you taking the time, man.
You got it. Thanks.
And with that, we'll wrap up this edition of the Celtics pregame report. Make sure you check out the Celtics postgame show. For CLNS Media, you can check me out. I'll be hosting tonight, so I'll be staying up late. Call in toll-free at 347-215-7771. I get you on there. Again, the phone number to join me tonight for the postgame show is 347-215-7771 after the game to get on the air. You can also listen to the show on demand on the CLNS Media mobile app. Weekday shows air on the Celtics Newsfeed channel, on iTunes, Stitcher, and the CLNS Media mobile app. For today's Boston Celtics pregame report with Josue Pavone, this is Josue Pavone signing off.